bigxthaplug melodies, no samples, no starters. I'm break down 2 loops that I made from scratch. Show you exactly how you can get that vintage Western feel. We're not using samples, we're not using loops, we're not using starters. It's 100% original. All right, first loop right here. All right, second one. Alright, I got it open and it looks like a lot, but when I break it down, it's not that difficult. You just got to bear with me and trust the process. So the very first thing that I laid down was this bass piano pattern, and I have been listening to so many of these kind of loops that I had just created a pattern that I wanted in my head for the bass line. So this is what I started off with. So I'm breaking down my thought process. So the scale that I'm in is E minor, right? This D coming down 2 is your friend for transitions between each 2 bars, just so that it doesn't get super repetitive. And then for the second 4 bars, you either want to go up 7 or up 5. And so for this one, I did both, but I use a transition note here that goes out of the key, and it sounds like some Western kind of blues stuff. And so this note was really important when trying to get that Western vintage feel. It makes it like a little bit jazzy. And on that piano, I just got a little bit of EQ to take out some of the highs. So the next thing I did was I brought out this guy, and I went onto this website where you can click on the guitar and it'll find like chords for you. So I went in this pattern and I built notes on top of it to see what chords I could use on the guitar. And these are the guitar chords I came up with. Hey. These chords are the same notes as this piano pattern that I'll get into later, but I ended up putting on an EQ like this to take out the super highs and the super lows. I put on Archetype Corey Wong on the full smash lead preset. This gave it a super distorted feel, and I had to turn it down a little bit because the distortion was a little bit too much. Then I turned on Rotary Mod. This gave the guitar like tremolo and chorus, and I basically just used this as a second guitar amp on top of the Corey Wong. And this Rotary Mod makes it sound super Western. With just the Corey Wong guitar amp, this is what it sounds like. Here's what it sounds like with the Rotary Mod on it. Next, I made this piano pattern that follows the exact same chords as the guitar. And the preset that I used is That Old Time in Piano V by Arturia. This is the only effect I put on that piano. Next, I found this sound effect in Jupiter 8 called Digital Thunder. You don't really hear it that well, but I thought it would just be some cool ear candy. Hey! So I opened Jupiter 8 again, and I got this pad called 8P Soundtrack, and I only played the second 4 bars, the chords, and I only had it play in the second 4 bars because I used this parametric EQ with the low pass filter to make it have like a swelling in effect. So here's what the swell sounds like with everything that we have right now. Where we start to get super jazzy is this organ preset that I got from B3 by Arturia. I use this preset called Full Drawbars, and I don't play the keys, so I just had to freestyle in my head and then click in kind of what I was hearing. Hey! And And it does take a lot of time. It does take a lot of time to do this when you don't know how to play the keys, but the end result is definitely worth it. I didn't play with the velocities at all for some reason. I usually do, but for this one I didn't. Next, I put up Serum for this lead. This lead was inspired by a sound that I heard in Bigger in Texas by Megan Thee Stallion.
Rich off these endorsements, shy hoes lazy. I always worry about a boyfriend, poxy.
And the repetitiveness of this pattern gives the melody a bit more structure since it is kind of all over the place. There's a whole lot going on. So this is something that repeats and can give you something to come back to every single time you know what's going to happen. Next, got this classic bell, just has a little accent sound. You can't really even hear it when the full melody is playing, but it's in there. Next thing I did was I got these little guitar chops that I played from when I recorded the guitar the first time. And I was using an audio cable as a guitar pick. So at times it sounded kind of funny and I wanted to add it in. This is another little accent sound that you really don't hear. And it's off key, but it's in there. Next thing I did was I played a guitar lead, and I wanted to add a full lead on top of here, but I'm not fluent in guitar playing, and this melody had already took me like an hour and a half to make, and I was short on time. So I played these two little guitar notes. For the glide effect on the guitar, you just play the note and then bend the string. Sure, if you have a guitar, you probably know that, but it took me a little minute to figure that out. After I did the bend up, I wanted it to bend back down, so I added this pitch automation. I added some EQ and one of my favorite plugins, Stomp Board. I put it on the nice solo preset. This is what it sounds like now. Sounds super clean. Then I just duplicated it over here, and all of this is just since the note that I played is short, I copied it over and made it fade into each other so the note sounds like it's playing for longer than it is. And I also made it bend down a little bit more here. So I'm gonna play the full sample what I have right now. So I found this drum loop from a one-shot kit that I have, and it adds so much energy to the sample. So I took the last bar of the organ, I took this little guitar lick that I played, and I took the last bar of the drum break that I put on here, and I created a little intro. And when you are sending out samples, people love intros. It's a little something extra to make you stand out. And when drummers hear an intro, they automatically think the sample is better just because you put a little bit more effort into it. I'm gonna show you how easy it is in this second sample as well. Forgot to mention, at the end of that loop, I just pitched it all down one semitone using Sound Shifter. But now I'm gonna get into the second sample. I used the exact same piano preset as the last loop, and I made a very similar pattern, but instead of going up on the 5th bar, I made it go up on the 7th bar.
Hey! Hey!
Next thing I did was I put on these piano chord stabs. Looks really complex, but all I did was I just put a minor chord, I copied it and pasted it over and over again, and then I just followed the bass notes. The piano bass notes starts here, goes here, starts here, goes here, then it ends up going down 5 over here, so that's why I moved this chord down 5. And then for the velocities, I just randomized them, and I would select the whole chord and put it up or down depending on how hard I want it to be played. And this piano preset is different. It's called Hold the Lion. I use the exact same method for the organ this time. This pattern is a little bit more complex, but once again, I just freestyled a pattern in my head and then I clicked in what I thought sounded good. It's a lot easier than it looks when you just take your time and focus on making the pattern. To click this in, it probably took me like 8 minutes, but it was definitely worth it when the sample came out sounding so good. Also, another thing to keep in mind, don't be afraid to leave empty space in your melodies too. Like right here, there's little spaces in between the notes that are being played because an organ player isn't going to keep his hand on the key at all times. Same with right here, it adds a little bounce to it. Then right here, it's like the dude on the organ is taking his hand, putting it all the way down the keyboard. Just thought that would be a little fun thing to add in there. Next, I got this bell that plays the exact same chords as the bass piano.
Hey.
And I put these little passing notes in here too, just for fun. Thought they sounded good. Next thing I did was I copied the guitar chords into that same website. Next thing I did was I copied the notes from the chords and put them into that guitar chord website so I could play them. And this is the pattern that I played on the guitar. On that guitar, I added a bunch of effects like Soothe 2. This takes out some of the harsh frequencies of the guitar. I added Guitar Rig 6 on the basic Tweedman preset. Then I added Rotary Mod at about like 40% mix on the old time radio preset. EQ to take out the low end. Here's what that sounds like now.
Hey.
Sounds super old timey now. For this next guitar pattern, I just played that E minor chord over and over again where the clap hits. And I pitched it up an octave as well after I played it. Then I put Soothe 2 again, and I put on Stomp Board this time on the Country Doubler preset. Here's what all the melodic elements of the sample sound like together. Then you just give it that energy with the drum loop. That's about it. It's really simple if you just break it down and take it one step at a time. Hope y'all learned something, and I hope you take some inspiration from this. And I will see y'all in the next one.